If you're getting a new metal roof put on your home or building and receiving bids and quotes from a variety of contractors and installers, sometimes it's difficult to choose the right one for your project. Today on the Metal Roofing channel, we're going to talk about how to qualify a bid, what you should be receiving from an installer or contractor, and what that means for your project later down the line. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Metal Roofing channel. I'm Thad Barnett. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. We release metal roofing and metal construction content every Monday and Wednesday. Today we're talking about bids and quotes from contractors and installers for your new metal roof and how to choose the best one for your project. All the questions that we'll be discussing are in the description down below. You can jump ahead using those quick links. Also in the video description is a free checklist of 27 questions to ask your contractor at your next consultation so that you can be better informed as a homeowner or building owner and you know exactly what to ask when it comes to your project and your quote or bid. Check that out in the description below. It's free. You can download it today. I have Adam and Jeff from Sheffield Metals back with me today. Thanks, guys, for being here. We're going to talk a little bit about how to qualify a bid, what that means, and how to choose the best one for your project and some things to think about there. Tell me first, when I receive a bid or quote from a contractor, what should I be expecting to see on that actual bid? What should they be telling me about my project?
I think I'd be looking at, and especially comparing to other bids that you have, because you're going to have more than one, is the inclusiveness of what's in your bid. Does your bid say 100 and, or 50 squares of 1.5 mechanical and give you a price? Or does it say 50 squares of 1.5 mechanical, this many lineal feet of different types of flashing, pipe boots, penetrations, what installation details are going to be used during this project? Those all encompass what you should expect to get during your installation. And they might not be the same from one quote to the next. Another big thing to consider, especially when doing a re-roof project, is if you have any bad decking, if they have to pull decking up and replace it, what's it going to cost you per sheet? What's the hourly charge to replace it? Basically, as much information as you can get in that bid of every scenario that you're going to encounter on your roof, the better for you. Not only do you know exactly what you're going to get, but you have a chance to ask questions about the different things that they're performing. Depending on which manufacturer you're using, they might have recommended details. Are they using those recommended details? We constantly talk about engineered systems. Are the clips they're quoting in the bid what was used in the engineering? So the more information you can get in your bid, the better, as far as I'm concerned. And that might make certain bids stand out, from one another.
So in the simplest terms, if I'm looking at my quote or I'm looking at my bid, there should be some indication of how much material is actually going to be required to put on the roof, what that's going to cost me in maybe a square footage or per square, which is 100 square feet, listed out on my quote or bid. And then, like you were saying, accessories like clips, screws, maybe listed out, and then also different profile choices. If I'm getting bids for multiple different types of systems, all of those should be listed out so that I can clearly see the price difference between those packages.
So on top of that, I think there's got to be an understanding that at minimum, the contractor is meeting local building codes, minimum building standards. And in some cases, that might require a certain level of engineering. That's not the homeowner, building owner's job to understand that. If they bid, a break formed cheap clip that has no engineering, and then you're ready to perform the project and they say, oh, I got a change order, we need some engineered clips. To me, as a building owner, homeowner, you have the right to push back and say, hey, it's not my job to understand what building code is, it's yours. So
I think something else that should be talked about up front is what warranties will be offered with your project and the different systems that you choose. Metal warranties, paint warranties as well. Or if you're on a commercial project, weather-tight warranties, if that's something you're considering as well.
No, absolutely. The warranties can vary between quote to quote. Another one to in there, especially if you're a homeowner and you're getting one done, is the contractor offering a installation warranty, for a certain amount of years. It's all good information to know up front. And again, gives you a way to compare the bids apples to apples when you're looking through them.
Yeah, and piling on that, always want to have a workmanship warranty. I mean, even when we have weather-tight warranties, meaning Sheffield carries the warranty, we still require the contractor, the installing contractor, to carry the burden of that original install for the first 2 years. So there is a total reasonable expectation of a end user to have a workmanship warranty from an installing contractor, regardless of whatever system you're choosing.
And a couple other things that you should be talking about is payment terms, what that is going to look like for you as a home or building owner, and then also unforeseen problems. Jeff, you mentioned this when it comes to your decking. What happens if they tear the roof off and the whole deck needs replaced? Or what happens if they find mold or water damage? What does that mean for the cost of your roof and what you should be looking at there? So those unforeseen problems should be something that you discuss up front. What happens if? Now, if you're receiving multiple bids or quotes and you receive one that might be extra low, or it's a low bid way under the other quotes that you receive, what are some red flags that I should be looking out for when it comes to those low bids?
It's really, what's apples to apples, what's missing. This often happens where, you might have had an overhang, somebody just missed a section, they missed your request to bid the gutters in the quote. Could be a number of things, but making sure that expectations are met. So, and this is really both ways. So even if you said, hey, I want you to bid, the roof and the gutters, and you come back and you have a quote that's lower than all of them and the gutters happen to be missing, there needs to be a reasonable expectation that the contractor just missed that, and that accepting that bid doesn't cover the gutters additionally. So when you get into bigger situations, bidding off of larger plans, specs, things like that, and this happens, you want to see, a certain level of efficacy with a general contractor where they say, hey, I have a bid at 200,000, a bid at 210,000, a bid at 195,000. Oh, I got a bid at 160,000. Just accepting that bid, you could be putting some serious hurt to that contractor. So what I mean by having some efficacy, saying, hey, I think you missed something in your bid, I'm going to totally disregard it, or, check your bid. I just want to make sure this is the number because, you're low before we get this to contract. So I think that's totally reasonable expectation to, part of the qualifying of a bid process, whether it's from a homeowner or whether it's a large commercial contractor or GC that's soliciting, significant projects, projects in the hundreds of thousands, upwards of millions of dollars from metal roofing.
Looking at more of a homeowner standpoint, you get 2 bids and one of them's substantially lower, or 3 bids and one of them just sets itself apart as low from the other 2 that you get. This goes back to, again, why you want to have as much information as possible. You have 2 contractors that might be planning on tearing off the roof, tearing off the shingles, putting a metal roof on. You have another contractor that might plan on just going right over it. Depending on what you guys have talked about or haven't talked about, you don't know what they are putting in their contract without talking to you first. Another thing, again, is we talk about engineered systems all the time. Once again, the parts and pieces and components that go into an engineered system are usually going to be a little bit more expensive, and you're probably going to use more of them than you are in a non-engineered system. 2 people offering the same roof, one's engineered, one's not, one's higher. Which one is it that you're looking for?
And along the lines of making sure that your contractors and installers are vetted, you could be receiving a low quote because the installer might be inexperienced. They might be cutting corners in some ways when it comes to flashing zones like a skylight or other penetrations like that. So taking a look at previous work and seeing the quality of work done is a really good way to make sure that you're getting quality bids and quotes as well.
Another reason too that the bid might be low compared to other contractors, though, is playing devil's advocate a little bit, is maybe they're slow and they want the work, where other people might be busier. And if we're going to take on another project, we got to quote it out because it's going to add a lot more onto our plate. Low's not always bad. It's just what's the reasoning behind it, and that's what you have to figure out.
What are some reasons why a bid might be higher than expected?
Metal really is a premium product. Some of it might be to kind of curb your expectations. One of the big things right now, we're in early 2021 when we're shooting this, is the steel market is going absolutely crazy right now. Record highs on the flat rolled, the coated steel side than I've ever seen in the last 14 years. I don't know that they've ever been this high. And so we're fielding a lot of questions from end users and customers saying, hey, my guy that bid my roof back in September of 2020 is now telling me that it's going to cost me $3,000, $5,000 more. Is this bogus? We're getting a lot of people trying to figure out, is my customer trying to jack me around? No, that's just the cost of material has really gone up that much. So I think that covers part of your question. The other part is, reasonable expectations. Is standing seam right for you? It's a premium product that you're going to pay a premium price for, particularly over face fastened systems or shingles.
To add on to that, another one could be that while your roof is beautiful, to a contractor, it could be a cut up nightmare. Lots of hips, lots of valleys. Not only does that increase the waste of the material that you're using because you have to cut those pieces off to make those angles and things like that, but it also requires more time to install. Time is money, time is labor. So, all that adds up. Another thing could be, besides being cut up, the number of penetrations, again, going back to skylights and things like that. Those all take time. Straight roofs that are up and over, not many penetrations, go down fast. Roofs that are more intricate and things like that take a lot of time.
Another thing to consider is construction costs in general have increased upwards of 25% in the last 5 years alone. So if you've received bids or quotes over the last several years, you've probably noticed that those costs have been rising steadily, and it's probably going to continue that way as far as construction overall. The last couple things that we should consider when picking the best bid or quote for your metal roofing project is you have to pick something that, number one, fits your budget. Number two, that your bid or quote contains the style of metal roofing that you are looking for, and then also fits the local code and local engineering requirements of your area. If you're in Florida, you're going to require something a little bit different than, say, somewhere in Ohio. So take a look at that when it comes to the choice of metal roofing system as well. And then lastly, you want to make sure that your contractor is vetted properly and you're comfortable with the quality of work and the quality of the product that they are going to be installing on your roof. Check out, previous projects that they've done. Make sure that they are a reputable contractor. Again, in the description, there is a free link, a free checklist of 27 questions to ask your contractor at your next consultation. Print that out, ask those questions to your contractor. Will give you a lot of information and make sure that they are the right fit for your project. Also, we have a blog article on SheffieldMetals.com that talks about everything we discussed today and way more, goes into detail about this topic. The link is also in the description. Always remember, do not be afraid to ask questions. Ask questions at your consultation, ask questions during installation, and talk about your concerns because your contractor is there to help and help you get the best product that you can for your long-lasting metal roof. If you have any questions you'd like to ask us, drop them in the comments down below. We'd love to answer them as well. Subscribe here to the Metal Roofing channel for more videos just like this one. As always, I'm Thad Barnett, and we'll catch you next time.